podcast. My name is Colin, and I am your host. This week's episode is with Adam Peters. Adam, thank you for joining me tonight. Appreciate
Thank
it.
you. This is like 6 months in the making.
Yeah, that happens. That's happened with a lot of guests where we're like, there's one buddy that I have off the top of my head right now, Scott Stowe. I don't know if you know who he is, but
He just played the Raccoon Motel.
yeah, he's great.
Yeah.
I've known him for a long time. Went to high school with him. We've had many conversations and just scheduling, and
It happens. Life happens.
it's annoying. Being an adult's really annoying. Yeah. But I appreciate you being here. And before we get started, you're someone like me. That seems like it'd be a common theme with my guests lately, that you do a lot of different things.
A lot of different things, yeah.
So it'll make it a lot easier if you introduce yourself and kind of give people the Cliff's Notes, I guess, the rundown of what you do.
So the Cliff Notes version is, I'm Adam Peters. I currently am the Director of Operations at Clock Inc. LGBT Community Center based in Rock Island.
Okay.
That's my current full-time job.
Tell us a little bit about that, though.
Yeah. So Clock Inc. is a community center for LGBTQ people in the Quad Cities and actually beyond. We have people coming from Rockford, Iowa City, Muscatine, Clinton.
Yeah.
We have 8
hub.
Yeah, we have 8 different support groups. We've got free and reduced professional counseling, gender affirming clothing closet, a little library. We have a youth area with all the board games and video games you could dream of. We've got all these different events that we're putting on throughout the year. Just regular fun events, but also informational events, educational events. And then, we're just trying to make sure that the LGBTQ population in the Quad Cities have a safe, affirming space to go. Trying to get rid of any feelings of isolation, discrimination, anything like that. This is my first foray in the nonprofit world. And I've worked there for 2.5 years. And it has been a roller coaster of amazingness.
It's fairly new, too.
Yeah, so it's been around for 5 years only.
Okay.
And my thing is, I grew up in the Quad Cities. I'm gay. And I never had anything like Clock.
Yeah.
So to be able to work there now and see what we're doing and see the impact is deeply rewarding.
I bet.
Worth getting up every single day and being like, wow, I put good things in the world. I do good things.
Yeah,
so,
purpose.
Yeah, it's really nice. It also is really scary too, because sometimes you're like, oh yeah, we don't have a lot of money, so hopefully we're gonna have enough money to keep the doors open. So
yeah,
that's scary, but I love it. So that's one component. How I kind of got into that work was through politics.
Okay.
I've worked on 3 different campaigns. I worked on Pete Buttigieg, who ran for president in 2019. He was in the primary and up and coming guy, really liked what he stood for. And I worked for him for 10 months, worked in Iowa and California. He got out of the race, and then Daddy Joe Biden was was the nominee after the pandemic started. And I got back in it with him, worked in Pennsylvania for Biden's campaign. And then I worked for a guy named Admiral Mike Franken. He ran for Senate here in Iowa this last election. We lost, but sometimes we have winners, sometimes we have losers.
Yeah,
it's whatever.
Yeah, that's part of the game.
Yeah, so I do politics.
How'd you get into the political game?
Honestly, it was kind of the 2016 wake-up call. I have always enjoyed politics, college, even in high school, I liked following it.
Yeah.
But I always was on the sidelines, just kind of watching it go by. Iowa, we're the caucus state, so we get all the presidential candidates. And I've always followed that. But when 2016 happened, I felt like I didn't do anything about it, didn't like the outcome. So I said, if I got the opportunity, I would try to do more, maybe in volunteer capacity. But then the presidential primary came around, and I started looking at candidates and had kind of narrowed down to 3. I was either going to be a Warren supporter, a Pete supporter. I'd previously supported Bernie, but I was just kind of looking for something that could break through here in Iowa because we start everything off. And yeah,
Pete had
so
Pete had a lot of momentum.
yeah, he did. We were very excited to work for him, and yeah, he's got a bright future. So it's not the end by any means, but yeah. So
Yeah, he's what, like 40?
yeah,
Like,
and he's the Secretary of
yeah,
Transportation.
yeah.
So
So
yeah, he's going
yeah,
places.
he'll be.
But yeah, so I wanted to get involved, and yeah, I started volunteering, and then next thing you know, I applied for the campaign and got a job, and that's kind of the story. It just
How'd you survive by volunteering? How are you making money?
So at that time I was living in Iowa City and
Okay,
I was managing a restaurant full time,
okay,
but then also doing show choir work, which is the third component that we
yeah,
haven't talked about. Um, that's us 4 months of my year, which is a lot of time and a lot of hard work, and I make money doing that.
hmm,
So, um, yeah, that's how I sustained myself.
okay.
But I wasn't a volunteer for that long. Like they were hiring people, and I was one of the first people hired in Iowa.
Oh, so you only had to do probably like a few
It was like
weeks or something.
it was like 6 7 weeks,
Okay,
and then I was hired. But yeah, I mean, the early days when I was a volunteer, it was kind of like the West Wing. Like you were with one of two people that were on his campaign and traveling Iowa and finding places where Pete could get a picture eating ice cream. Yeah, so politics, clock, and then show choir. I've been involved in show choir since I was in high school.
hmm,
Went to college at Luther College for music, got involved with it that way. Directed a group in Muscatine for 6 years and kind of figured out that the money and time that you get from being a director is not much, and you're putting your life into that hours and hours and hours. And
hmm,
having success also means that other people kind of want you to work with their group. So
hmm.
I kind of started this like freelance thing, and it worked out. And every year from starting, like last week, I started clinicking groups. Which I go in, watch their show, and then for the next 3 or 4 hours, we just work on singing, dancing, their story, the band, the whole thing. And then January through the end of March, sometimes April, every single weekend, I'm in a different city in the Midwest or California judging these groups. So those are the three things that keep me busy, which means I never sleep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that sounds like it. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, one thing I wanted to kind of bring up out of the gate was like the first thing that you brought up to me when we were talking was like you recently, and that's something I could talk about forever
Yes.
too, is you recently decided to take the sobriety journey. Well, not recently, within the last year.
I mean, that's recent. I mean,
It is,
yeah.
but depending on where you're at, a couple days could be a long time. It just depends on where you were at and that, before you decided to get sober. So I always like to hear like what came about or what got you to that point where you're like, okay, this seems appealing or this seems like a good idea or stuff's going downhill. What kind of led up to it?
Yeah. Well, first, I want to say when you originally asked me to come on the show in May, and I was like, yeah, I could do that, I literally dropped the ball on purpose because I felt like coming on this show and being newly sober and like not knowing if I was going to actually like stick with it, I
Yeah.
was like, I don't want to do that. So like that's why
You put the
I
pressure on
yeah,
yourself.
yeah.
Yeah.
So like that was like a mental thing that
That
I
makes
was
sense.
like,
Yeah.
yeah. So I just want to say that cuz that's interesting to me now because I'm like
You,
completely on the other
yeah,
side and
you
I'm
look
like,
back on it and you're like, oh.
yeah, yeah. But for me, I was never like a heavy drinker. I definitely would go out and have fun with friends. I worked at a bar basically my entire 20s, server, manager. Um, and yeah, I had my fun weekends, but like it wasn't like I was going home and downing bottles. Like I
Yeah.
didn't wasn't addicted. Um, but when I started political work, that's when things started to change. That's where the relationship with alcohol started to really change. And the stress,
Hmm.
because when you're working on a presidential campaign, and you're working pretty much every day, and you're working with a core group of people, and you're working 14-hour days with each other. That end of the day blow off steam is go to the bar, have a few drinks,
Mm-hmm.
and that ramped up more. And then, if we wouldn't go to the bar because we were like dead tired, I would be anxious. I would go home and be like, okay, well, I'm gonna have a few drinks because I need to like
Wind down.
wind down.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't realize it then, but like I was like starting to use alcohol as the like medicine, soothing me, Um, and so that's where it started. The relationship with alcohol changed. And then COVID hit. And I feel like there were two things that happened with people. Either people really like saw this as an opportunity as self-improvement,
Mm-hmm.
which like at the beginning I like saw the glimmers of
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna get healthy, I'm gonna get a six pack. But then
Yeah.
like you're locked down, and like it was me and a roommate, and she was awesome. She's one of my dear friends. But like once it was 5 o'clock, we would break out the wine, we would start watching Tiger King, and we would just get like drunk every single
Tiger
night.
King COVID was.
For that's a different time. Like
Yeah.
whoa.
Yeah.
We just got like drunk for 6 weeks straight. Like literally just like sitting in our house hoping we wouldn't die. But yeah, so like again, like it just kind of started escalating.
You saw the progression.
Yeah. And I didn't see it then.
Well, not right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's now I see it.
Yeah.
So that changed it. And then
it sounds like you felt the progression.
Yeah.
And now you see it.
Exactly. After that, I hopped on Biden's campaign, and as much as that was a cool experience, like it was a remote job for the majority of it. So I was in my kitchen every single day, working with volunteers from across the United States, thousands of them over Zoom for like 10 hours a day, which people know how maddening being on Zoom is.
Oh, yeah.
Like working with strangers you don't know. I mean, it's crazy.
Oh yeah.
So like there again, I'm alone. I'm de-stressing with drinking vodka sodas before bed, like drinking 3 and being like, I'll just go to sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And then coming out of COVID, wanting to be more social. I had just moved back to Davenport. I had never lived in Davenport. I've always lived. I grew up in Walcott.
Okay.
I had lived in Bettendorf once, but I lived in Iowa City for 7 years.
Okay.
And LA for 1 year.
Okay.
So I moved to Davenport to do the remote work on Biden's campaign. And, COVID started letting up. We could go out and be humans again.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
I really wanted to experience what the Quad Cities had to offer. So I was being very social, going out, meeting people, having drinks with people, and getting drunk a lot. Like just like going out, having a blast. And it was fun, but it also made me into like this anxious, just not great functioning human. And that alarm actually started to go off in me. Like I was just anxious all the time. I would be thinking like, oh, like let's get to the end of the day, I'll have a few drinks and be fine.
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, I was at least not that far gone that I was like, I think I might have a problem. Like I think this, and I started actually talking about it because I have people in my family who are in AA. Who my cousin just did 9 years.
Yeah.
She's been sober for 9 years. My aunt went to Al-Anon because of my cousin. Like we have deep ties to the sober community and AA. So I kind of knew like, and I had no shame in talking about it too. Like I would go to my cousin and be like, am I an alcoholic? And she would ask me all these questions, but then be like,
only you
exactly.
know.
She would ask a whole list of questions, but then at the end, like, well, only you know.
Yeah.
I don't think you are, but like, maybe.
Yeah.
And I'm like, oh, that's not a great answer.
Yeah.
I
need a for sure thing.
Yeah, like just tell me. Like I'll figure,
Yeah, it doesn't work that way.
No, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
So that was just like wow, like it just kept getting louder and louder inside of me. Um, and then yeah, I just kept going, just kept trying to function. And um, luckily, I am like this believer of signs and like the synchronicities that happen in life. And
Mhm.
there were enough things that happened that like got my attention, close calls, or just like, you know, almost getting stopped by a cop, like, and being like, whoa, like I need to slow my roll. Like, what's going on? Um, and I started really being open about being sober curious and
Mhm.
talking to people about it and hearing a lot of good stories, but then also a lot of people being like, it's, it's just a few drinks. Like you can go and have fun and you can moderate and.
Yeah, yeah,
But
yeah.
I'm like in my brain, I'm like, I don't think I can. Like I also don't remember who I am without this.
Yeah, and you
So
don't want to play the game.
exactly. So it was I actually have props because I like again there's these very um there's these very specific signs that happen. So on July this is okay, so July 5th, I was going on a run. And I love running, and running has been like therapy to me for the last 10 years. But as I'm drinking, like running doesn't suffice
Yeah.
anymore. It
Oh,
makes you feel
you still would
better.
run,
Yeah,
but it
but like
just
it doesn't get through the anxiety, like because I'm drinking enough where
yeah,
like it's
the
ruining. Yeah,
anxiety.
yeah, yeah. So I started a run, and I had just had a conversation with someone about possibly thinking about quitting drinking. And I put my music in, start the run. There's this song called Tom Thumb, and one of the lyrics is, I know what you're running from, I know what you're running from. And as those lyrics are about to get sung in my earbuds, I see this shiny coin on the ground on River Drive, and I didn't think about it because I don't know, I was running. I didn't want to stop. But then it just was like lightning. I was like, turn around, go see what it is. And as I did, and I go down to pick it up, the I know what you're running from, I know what you're running from lyrics started. And I pick up this coin, and it is an AA chip on the ground. This AA chip.
Ah, classic line. The elevator is broken. You have to use the steps. This is this is one of the unique coins. They don't just give these out to
Yeah.
everybody either.
This was on the ground, and I was like,
Oh,
this is a sign.
yeah.
Like, I need to either get help, stop drinks, try to stop drinking, whatever. So I basically told this story to some family members to like tell myself, like, if I tell them, like, there's no turning back. Well, the next day I went to an AA meeting in Davenport because I
Okay.
was like,
Yeah, why
let's
not?
see. The
Just saw a coin.
Yeah, the sign is telling me go to it.
Yeah.
And I went to the AA meeting, got the welcome chip
Yep, yep.
next day, and I went to it, and it was a great experience. Heard amazing stories.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm nerdy. Like, when my cousin, we would go to celebrate her anniversaries for
Yeah.
hers, I loved going to those meetings. I loved
The
hearing.
stories.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like it's just powerful. Like that community is just so inspirational.
Oh yeah.
So like I got that feeling, and I was like, this is awesome. I'm going to stop drinking. Literally was drinking 24 hours afterwards.
Yeah.
Like just like going out like, "Oh, I'll be fine. Like it's fine."
Yeah.
So, yeah, like, and from then on I just started drinking again. Like my family kind of checked in, and they're like, "Did you stop?" And I'm like, "Well, I will eventually. I'll be fine. Like I'll be fine, whatever." Trying to convince myself that I can do it on my own and I don't need to like just stop.
Yeah.
But as it keeps going, like I am still anxious. Like I had been going to a therapist and that had been working, but when you're drinking and going to therapy, like
Yeah. Yeah.
whatever. And then yeah, so I went to a wedding in Austin, Texas that December, and it was a really fun, kind of interesting wedding where they did a lot of really thoughtful things, not just with the couple, but like with like the people that came, and they all had us write intentions for our next year. And I kind of was like stumped. I was like,
That's
I,
interesting.
I don't know what to write. Like, I don't know. I don't know what my new year is going to be.
These
I don't
weddings are getting crazy.
exactly. I was like, this is too hippie, you know? But I just stared at this piece of paper forever and not even thinking. I did not intentionally write it, but I just wrote 2023 will be sun and sober. And I was like, okay.
Were you drunk at that time?
I was drinking as I was writing this.
Yeah.
Yes, like yeah.
Yeah.
And I wasn't drunk, but like
yeah, you got a buzz going.
So that was the beginning of December, and again, holidays come around, lots of drinking.
Yeah.
And then New Year's came around. I was with a lovely group of friends on New Year's. We had drinks. It was great. I wasn't like completely annihilated, but I had enough drinks where I woke up on January 1st and my head hurt.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like this siren was going off in my brain. And I literally could hear something, someone, my brain, my consciousness, I have no clue, literally saying, it's now or never. Like, if you don't quit now, like, you're going to waste your life.
Mm.
And I stopped drinking.
On the first?
The end. Yeah, on the first.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah. So
very cliche.
Yeah, I'm coming on. But I didn't know. The night before, I didn't think I know. Cheers, this is my last drink.
Yeah, I know.
Like that was not in the plan, and
Yeah.
I just woke up and I was like, "It's a new year. We're gonna do this." And yeah, first 3 or 4 months, I was like, I don't know if this is a forever thing.
Mm-hmm.
I told people like I'm gonna quit drinking for a while. I told the people in my like immediate life, like my roommate, my best friend, I was like, hey, I'm going to stop drinking. I'm going to try to stop drinking for the entire year.
Mm-hmm.
I need your support. Like, and they're wonderful. So lovely. But as it kept going, and like, even in May, like when we were talking about doing this podcast, I was like,
you're still on the fence.
Yeah. I was like, I don't know what's going to happen. But now I'm like,
when do you think it got to the point where you're like, okay, I'm over the fence a little bit more?
I think it was, I had a birthday party. My birthday's in July, but most of the loved ones in my life that I would want at a party, they do the show choir thing. So they travel and teach kids how to dance. And that season starts in June. So I have my birthday party in May, even though my birthday's in July. So I had the birthday party at the end of May, and having that loving group of people at the Raccoon Motel, we had a concert, we had a kickball game. It was amazing. And having them like not be sober people, but me be sober the entire time. And I was like, yeah, I can do this forever. And also I want to do it because like I am a better human without it. Mm-hmm. Then in July, I like started doing yoga and was like, wow, I'm a much better functioning human being without alcohol in my life. So like I just have no intention of ever starting again. I don't want to be that former human, and I don't think I could continue. I don't think I could moderate. So like why even try?
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at. Like if I ever like I also have the wisdom enough to like if I ever have a problem, like AA is an option. I don't go to AA. The last meeting I went to was the failed one in July of last year.
Yeah.
But I know it's there, and if I ever need it, I'll use it.
Yeah.
So
it's good to have tools.
Yeah.
And also knowing people in recovery too that you can talk to is nice.
Yeah.
People that can relate to it. But yeah, I kind of feel the same way about when it comes to drinking. Because my thing was like the substances that were involved with drinking, so I had to stop drinking because it opened Pandora's box.
Okay. I
So
remember you saying that.
yeah,
Yeah.
so I was like, I should just because I tried to convince myself if it was just alcohol, I'd probably be fine. But I don't even know that anymore. I'm just like, why risk it when
Yeah.
things are so much better without it in my life?
Absolutely.
And one thing I wanted to do a callback, a little comedy term for you. You brought up going to therapy. So as far as the therapy is concerned, how did how long have you been going to therapy? Is it like an off and on thing, or is it more of a recent thing? What kind of brought you to that point?
I started therapy after the Biden campaign ended.
Okay.
So I worked 4.5 months on that campaign. It was one of the most stressful jobs I've ever done in my entire life.
Mm-hmm.
The election ended, and then I was just like in my apartment all the time because like COVID was still a thing.
Yeah.
Um, and I was not happy.
Isolating.
I was like, it was not good. Like, my mental health was poor. Like, I was just not happy. And I knew I'd been thinking about going to therapy to talk about stuff
Mm-hmm.
and had never done it. And I thought, it's now or never. And we had health insurance through the end of the year. So
Oh
I
hell yeah.
started the process of finding a therapist, but I actually didn't finish. I just on it was it was 12/31/2020, and I hopped in my car on New Year's Eve and drove to California because I used to live there. And I was like, I don't want to be in Iowa right now. And I literally drove. I'm crazy. I drove 20 hours straight, stopped in west of Denver, and got a hotel on New Year's night and was in the hotel. It was the last room available. I get to the room, it's dirty. Like there's a belt. I was like, is somebody in here?
Yeah.
Like I called down the front desk. They're like, yeah, we weren't sure if it was dirty or not, but I'm like, can I get my money back? They're like, no. I'm like, what the hell? So
Yeah.
I slept in my car for an hour and a half and then drove the rest of the way and got to California early the next morning. And I stayed in California for a month with my former roommates and like went running every day, tried to get my head in the game.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, ultimately, I came back and found a therapist and started talking slash also lying about drinking. So
Yeah.
like I did some good work, like past like childhood stuff, but like also I was not being honest with them about like the drinking component.
So as far as you brought up childhood stuff, so I
Yeah.
have to bring up as far as your journey as in, coming out and was that an early thing for you? Was it a later thing for you? Because it's always there's always a different story. It seems like.
I've been out almost half of my life now,
Okay.
which is crazy to think about in that way. So it was early in the sense that I was 17
Okay.
and yeah, I was closeted in high school. I had a secret boyfriend that pretty much everyone knew about, but people either respected me, were afraid of me, or just didn't care enough to like not throw it in my face that they knew.
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you to anyone that was in my high school that didn't.
Where'd you go to high school again?
Davenport West. Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. At the time, it was the largest high school in the state, and that is not the case anymore. So
Yeah, it's still large, but yeah,
not very large.
that's good.
Yeah, I mean, we had 2,400 kids when I went, and there's like 12 or 1,300 now.
Wow.
Yeah, so Davenport enrollment's like going down. Shout out to the Davenport Community Schools if you're
Yeah.
listening.
People are going to Bettendorf.
Yeah, PB. Yeah,
PB, yeah.
yeah. So yeah, I came out I came out to close friends the summer after I graduated high school,
Mm-hmm.
and then the day I went to college was like,
Yeah, college.
This is me,
Yeah.
like it or leave it. I didn't come out to my parents right away. Waited till Easter, which is a great day to come out. Because if you're a little bitch like me, not a little bitch, but like if you're like snarky like me, like I really wanted to like just be like, Mom, Dad. And I said it then, if Jesus can come back to life, I can too. Like the whole like I'm gay.
You went.
Except it wasn't like that. I was just like bawling. So
Oh, okay.
yeah,
So
I wanted it to be
you
like
wanted
that.
it to be
I was like,
powerful.
fuck yeah, I'm gay.
Performance.
No.
Yeah.
It was like I was bawling and sad, and my mom sighed, and my dad was like, yeah, I thought you always were. And I'm like, okay.
Okay, that's kind of funny.
Yeah, get back in the car, drive
For
4
leaving,
hours
at least.
back to college, bawling. But
Yeah.
so that journey has been interesting. My family was not supportive in the beginning. They are now. Like
Even your dad, who knew?
when I came out, they were, like I said, my mom sighed and was like, "What did we do wrong?" That was a
Oh.
quote. My dad kind of chuckled and said he knew, but then as much as they're like, okay, you're still our son, like it's okay,
not
like
disowned.
after that it was like, okay, this is weird, we don't like it. Like so we had a lot of chill time where we did not talk to each other, where it was just like cold. And I tried very hard to get my parents to like change their mind overnight, which is just not a thing. Time was the healer, thank God. And seeing society move forward, I think helped my parents a lot. And my sister too, like when I came out, even before I came out, she was kind of awful and gave me a pamphlet for conversion therapy camp, which I kept because I was like, someday she's going to be okay with this and I'm still going to rub this in her face and be like, you gave me this. Stupid. Anyways, which I have because she is completely on the other side now. She's very supportive, loving. I have 2 wonderful nieces. Like I'm a part of their lives and it's great. So yeah, that's kind of the coming out process for me. Like I've always been very like open about it, and it's interesting now that I work in an LGBTQ center because I would have never thought I would have been doing that at that age. But yeah, and a lot of my own personal, again, back to therapy, like it's not so much the support. My parents didn't kick me out. They weren't supportive at first, but they got there. The therapy part that I needed was the internalized homophobia I
had towards yourself.
Like
heard this before.
So my parents weren't very religious, but they knew the right thing to do was take their kids to church. Well, in taking me to church when I was still closeted, I like drank the Kool-Aid and was like, God's gonna fix me. Like I knew I was gay, so I was like the perfect little Bible person, just like loving Jesus, praising Jesus, going home and asking my parents if they had a personal relationship with Jesus Christ at the kitchen table. And my mom's like, that's a little personal. We're not going to talk about that. So like I was the one that like, exactly. Like you did this to me. Like this is who I am. And they're like, oh, like back off. Like, you know? So like that, a lot of that was unwrapping that as well. So it's a journey.
Still going to therapy then? Or?
I am not as often. Like
if I spread it out a little bit
like
more.
If I need it, like if I feel like I really got something that I want to talk about, it's so helpful. But yeah, I was going like every other week for a while, and now it's just when I need it.
Yep. I'm on the every other week path right now myself, and psychiatrist once a month. I like to keep everything in check as much as possible.
That's awesome.
And then the recovery and comedy. There's just I have so many outlets. The outlets are very important to me.
And the comedy thing is so interesting to me. Just like because like I feel like that is some people's therapy. Like
for
they
sure,
literally
absolutely
use that as where it's just like wow.
Yeah, Dana, who has been on the podcast before, he likes to yell most of his set, but he usually yells, "I do comedy because I can't afford therapy."
Yeah.
And he's joking, but it's true. Like, not that he can't afford therapy necessarily, but that it's therapy for him.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe can't afford it either. I don't know.
Yeah, I used to say running was my
Yeah.
therapy until therapy was my therapy
Yeah.
because therapy.
It's a great addition,
Yeah,
exercise,
yeah,
for sure.
yeah.
Because I was such an not an anti. I wasn't telling people don't exercise. I just was like, I'm not gonna do this. I was just kind of lazy, and I kind of had this mentality. It actually stems back from when I was younger. I didn't want to work out because I was the scrawny kid in high school, and I got made fun of when I went to the gym.
That was me.
So I was like, I hate this place.
Yeah.
This sucks.
Absolutely.
And like, oh, you could barely lift the bar. I'm like, yeah,
Yeah.
that's it.
I run all the time. I go to yoga now. I love
Yeah.
it. You will never find me in a gym
Yeah,
ever. And like,
but you're
I'm-
still exercising.
yeah, but
Yeah.
I would like to build some muscle. But I'm like, I just don't want to deal with it.
Yeah.
I don't care enough,
Yeah.
Maybe someday.
Yeah, maybe someday. I don't know.
Yeah.
I never thought I'd be it. I've actually been doing more cardio than strength training. It used to be kind of the other way around. But I don't know. I like the mental benefits, I guess, of cardio a little bit more.
Yeah.
I don't get that huge runner's high. I'm still waiting on that to happen. But I also used to do things that were way stronger than a runner's high. So it's like,
yeah.
it's like.
I don't really know. People who get runner's high, I don't know. Like, I've only had runner's high maybe a handful of times. The first time I finished a marathon, that was exhilarating.
Yeah.
I've finished 3 other marathons, and it did not
You felt
feel.
like you were gonna die.
It did not feel like the first one.
Yeah.
But yeah, so running has always helped me. But like I said, I started yoga in July. And the intention behind breathing with yoga,
Oh yeah.
like that has transformed my anxiety even more. Stopping drinking, my anxiety went down a ton. Continuing running, anxiety's going down. And now, like, the yoga breathing is like game changer for me. I go to yoga, try it at least, just try it, because like
I've done it, and
Yeah.
I would definitely go again. I did hot yoga not so long ago, and I don't know about that.
So hot yoga is difficult. I mean,
Yeah.
you're sweating.
Yeah.
And I did hot yoga when I lived in Iowa City. I did a full summer of hot yoga and into the fall. And I remember I was changing in front of a friend, and they were like, "Adam, you look like an emaciated horse." I was like, "Really?" They're like, "You've lost so much weight," because I was doing hot yoga all the time.
Yeah.
And I was like addicted to it. But I'm doing gentle non-hot yoga now, and I never thought I would love it, and I love it.
Yeah.
It's so good.
How often you do it?
I would say 5 to 6 days a week, sometimes
Nice.
2 times a day if I can make it work in my schedule. Here's another thing. What happens when you stop drinking? You realize you actually can wake up in the morning and like not. For me, it worked that way. I don't
Yeah.
know. Like, and then pairing it with yoga, like I used to never be able to get up before 7 a.m., 8 a.m. sometimes. Now my body naturally wakes me up at like 5:30, and I'm at the 6 a.m. yoga class. So like it's crazy. Maybe I bet it's the non-drinking and yoga paired together, because
Yeah.
I used to sleep in all the time.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a big sleep fan myself.
I
so.
do love sleep, but I'm not getting a lot of it anymore because my body's like, you got enough energy.
Yeah.
Like, great, cool, let's go.
Are you like a 5-hour guy or something like that? Like,
What's a 5 hour?
Like-
Like sleep for 5
Yeah.
hours? Honestly, it's starting to become
Yeah,
that. It's
yeah.
weird. I used to need 8 hours minimum,
yeah.
and now it's like 5, 6 maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah. Woof, I'm getting old.
Yeah. It seems like the older you get, the less sleep you need.
Yeah.
And
I hear that. I
I've
mean,
heard
my
it.
parents complain about it. Like, they will go to sleep and wake up like 2 hours later and like try to sleep the rest of the night. But my mom gets up at like 3:30 in the morning.
Wow.
Yeah. She's old though, so whatever.
Yeah. Do you? Oh yeah. That is one other thing we're gonna do. Parents. So you you were adopted.
Yeah.
So that's another one that I wanted to talk about.
Yeah, it's another layer of the bloomin' onion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm hungry. Sorry.
Yum. Love a bloomin' onion
Yeah.
from Outback. Yeah, so I was adopted. I always knew I was adopted. My parents were both infertile, so they adopted kids.
Got
They
it.
had my sister. She's 2 years older than me, and then they adopted me. And from a young age, as early as I can remember, I knew I was adopted, and I knew that someday I would want to find my biological family,
Yeah.
just because
Mystery.
I'm a curious person.
Oh, yeah.
My sister, on the other hand, she wanted nothing to do with it. She didn't want to talk about being adopted. I mean, there was a time I remember, she was in fourth grade. No, I was in fourth grade. She was in sixth grade. Someone came up to me and said, "I thought you said you were adopted." And I said, "I am."
Mhm.
"Oh, well, we just talked to your sister and she says you're not." And I remember marching home from school that day, went straight to her room, which that was not okay. And I waited for her. She opened her door, came in. "What are you doing in my room?" I said, "You can lie about your life, but you can't lie about my life." And that was the last time we ever talked about adoption when we were kids.
Yeah.
Like, she just wasn't about it. And I was like, this is part of my story. It's cool. I
Yeah.
like it. So yeah, eventually I turned 18, and with the laws that I had known,
Mhm.
18 was like the magic year. You could find your biological family. It was like legal to do so.
Yeah.
Started the process, got halfway through, and they were like, actually, the law in Illinois changed. It's for closed adoptions, it's now 21. And I was like, well, damn, that sucks. And my parents were moderately supportive. They had always told me my entire life that they would help me if I ever wanted to do it. When it came to that time, they did get a little weird about it.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
Absolutely.
Like, and we talked about it. We talked through it. And my mom was just like, "I don't want us to get replaced." I'm like,
Yeah.
it's not about that. You
No.
are my parents. You
Yeah.
raised me. Like,
Yeah.
do not worry about that. It is my curiosity. It is health information. It is just understanding where I came from.
Yeah.
So my mom actually, to her credit, was like, "Well, I know they've told you you have to wait a few more years, but I'm pretty sure we have paperwork that they messed up." And I was like, "What does that mean?" She's like, "I think if we go to our safety deposit box at the bank, we have this paperwork. You can check it out and see what you can get from it." This was the age of Facebook starting to be a thing, like with adults. And so, yeah, we went to get this paperwork, and she was right. There was all of these things on the sheet that should not have been there, and they were all whited out. And all I did was hold it up to light, and I saw my biological mother's name, and I searched it on Facebook and found her right away.
And it wasn't like
Yeah.
Jane Smith.
Yeah. No, it wasn't like Jane Smith.
That's good.
But
Yeah.
yeah. So found her on Facebook, sent her a message, was like, "What were you doing on July 11th, 1988? Because I'm pretty sure I'm your son. Like, you had me." And I got a message back right away. Yep. And yeah, I grew up 15 minutes away from these people my entire life, and I never knew they were that close. The agency actually told my parents, which was a lie, that I was adopted into the Cedar Rapids area, but my biological family lives in Milan and Rock Island, and I grew up in Walcott, went to high school in Davenport. So I've met them all.
You got the questions answered?
Got all the questions answered. Most of them are a part of my life. Unfortunately, my biological mother and I we have not spoken in 8 years. There is some drama. Life happens. There's family drama. But I did get to know my biological father. They didn't stay together, so they were separate entities, really. And he actually just passed away this past January.
I'm sorry to hear that.
Yeah. He saw me 5 days sober, so that's all that.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, so that's good.
Was he an older guy or?
No, he was young. He actually died of aggressive cancer.
Ooh.
Real aggressive cancer. So much so that he went for a cancer checkup in September to Iowa City, and the spots on his kidneys and things, they
Mhm.
seemed to be fine. They weren't growing. They were fine. And by the time we went back to his next checkup in December, he had a watermelon-sized tumor inside of him, and he died 3 weeks later. So it was crazy.
Quick.
Yeah, it was real quick. So yeah, met them all. His sister, my Aunt Dee, she's the most amazing human on the planet Earth.
Mhm.
My grandparents are still alive. Just saw them today, like visiting, checking in with them. Um, yeah, it's been a crazy, fun, awesome experience just to like.
And even after that, your sister's just like, nope.
Yeah. Oh, we still like. She has never addressed the fact that I found my biological family. She refers to these people
Yeah,
like,
she knows who they
oh,
are.
like you went to Dee's house today. Great. Like, but like there's never been a conversation surrounding like when I found them, like what that was like.
I would be just like you though, man. I would have been on the hunt.
Yeah. It's
I need
fascinating.
answers.
But there is, I mean, we're all different.
Yeah.
People have different
No, I mean,
emotions
I'm
around.
not giving her shit. I'm just
Yeah,
like, I don't get
exactly.
it. I
Like,
don't get it at all.
some people feel like they're abandoned. And I'm like, well, I got a second shot. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know. That's how I view it. But I'm proud of it.
Yeah. Yeah, they maybe just weren't ready or I don't know.
I mean, yeah, that's sort of it, but not really. They were both 23. So, yeah. Again, I haven't talked to my biological mother in 8 years.
Yeah.
If you can kind of piece the puzzle pieces together with this one, I'm pretty sure she's not going to be watching this podcast. So, yeah. If you are, hey, sorry, it's just the truth.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah. So that is wild because I've never heard an adoption story like that where somebody actually went through and got the answers and found that, and that's crazy. Like you just held up the paper and you're like, okay.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like a situation where it was like a tough name to find either. It sounds like
Crazier so that none of their family knew that I existed. So she was pregnant and she was a little bit overweight. So for the majority of the pregnancy, it was hidden well. And then when she started showing, she kind of left the area. And then my biological father and her did not stay together. So when I found her, one of her first questions was like, are you interested in meeting your biological father? And I said, well, I am, but if he doesn't want to meet me,
I don't want that.
I don't want to like shake anything up. And she actually talked to him and he said, let's just let sleeping dogs lie. And I was like, fine, cool. He doesn't want to meet me. Totally fine with that. But we live in the Quad Cities. Everyone's in the Quad Cities. And when someone starts bringing their son around that they haven't ever had before and introducing them. So my biological mother, when we were friendly with each other, I was meeting a lot of her friends, family. Well, word spread and like the calculations, the like, oh, well, who's your biological father? And I would say, I mean, you know, I'm not going to have a relationship with them, but that's the person. And eventually my cousin, my biological father's niece, she was a 17-year-old in high school and she messaged me on Facebook and she goes, so we heard a rumor that my uncle is your dad. Is that true? And I was like, yeah. And they're like, we want to meet you right now. I was like, you need to talk to him because like I'm not screwing anything up. But once the secret was out, he was like, oh yeah, let's meet him. So I met him 3 days after that message from my cousin Kayla, and they're like my best family ever. Like they're just the coolest people. And Kayla has been in AA and she's an amazing force of positivity and yeah, she's the greatest. So
that's awesome.
Yeah.
That's a really cool story, man. I'm glad you were able to share that with me.
Yeah.
And the audience, and maybe she will see this. Who knows?
Hey, I hope you're doing well.
Random listeners, you never know.
Yeah.
Yeah, the fact that they were so close the whole time.
It's wild to me because I just think like, what if we like ran into them somewhere and we just had no clue? Yeah.
Easily.
Yeah. She actually knew what I looked like because a part of again, adoption things back then were weird. Like this was supposed to be a closed adoption, but somehow my mom, she complains about it. They conned me into sending a picture of you until it was supposed to be until I was 18, one picture a year just to give to my biological mother to be like, he's doing okay. But my mom stopped doing it like when I got to high school. She was like, I'm not doing this anymore. So my biological mother knew kind of what I looked like, but yeah. So
for a closed adoption, you think there would be no pictures?
it was all screwed up.
Yeah.
Just completely screwed up. I just realized how close I was sitting to the microphone.
Yeah, you're good. Closed means closed. Like I don't.
That's what I thought.
Yeah,
but
apparently not.
Yeah.
Well, it looks like, I mean, you talked a little bit about it already with your self-care. You doing things like, the yoga and therapy when you need it, and also obviously self-care. Not drinking is a huge self-care thing. Is there anything else that you've implemented or noticed or built into your routine that's been beneficial for you to kind of stay on point, because you're a busy guy, you got responsibilities, you got to kind of keep going, you got stuff to do. It's people count on you for things. So.
Yeah. So I know this might sound like kind of woo woo or just like cliche, but having a gratefulness practice has actively been also life changing, because I am a born pessimist and can see where everything is against me, and or I used to feel that way.
Yeah.
But in the last few years, I have I started with journaling.
Okay.
But I literally cannot for my life keep doing that, because like I just am like, I'll do it and then I'll set it down, and 2 weeks later I'm like, I'm supposed to be doing this.
Yeah.
So what I started doing after trying to keep a gratefulness journal where you write 3 things a day of things that you're grateful for, which again sounds woo woo and weird, but to make it more practical for me, I get in my car every single day. Like I'm going somewhere every single day. So when I get in a car, the first thing I do when I start driving is I start talking out loud. I probably look like a crazy person, but no one's going to know because you could be talking on the phone.
Baby.
Exactly,
Yeah.
exactly.
Good.
But I just start saying what I'm grateful for. And at first, saying 3 things, it was hard. Like, I don't know. Sometimes I would be like, I'm grateful for the sun. Okay, let's get this over with.
Grateful for my car started.
Yeah, exactly. I'm grateful for I'm alive. Great, cool, let's go.
Yeah.
But like now I've done it so much that like I'll say 7 things. Like sometimes I'm like, I'll start like getting happy thinking about the things I'm talking about. So like that has been transformative, because like I said, I used to be a pessimist and now I'm not as pessimistic, and I have seen the benefits of doing that in everything. It has changed the way I look at situations. It's changed the way that I am at the community center. Like you deal with the public every day. Like everything I do deals with the public. And I used to be a little cantankerous, if I'll use that word to say. Like and it's made me softer and more understanding, and that's like one huge thing besides yoga and running and not drinking. But yeah, that's
gratitude list. You're not, I mean, that doesn't sound that strange to me. You know how many times I've been told that by people to try that?
And like the act of saying it out loud, I feel like is so much more powerful than writing it down.
Yeah.
At least for me, just like saying it. I am grateful for the sun. I am grateful for the shoes I'm wearing. Like, I'm grateful for my aunt. I'm grateful for my journey. I'm grateful for this podcast, this opportunity to talk to whoever is watching, whoever, like hopefully you've gotten some kernel of something out of the garbage can of whatever I've just spewed, because I've just been chirping like a bird.
And I need to do the gratitude list because that was pretty pessimistic. It still comes out.
Yeah,
it's still
it
there.
Does.
Yeah, it's like retraining your brain.
Yeah. And when I like to think of my 20s as just like this entire like trying to figure out who I was, and now my 30s is just like crafting who that is to be the best version of myself. Because like we only get one go around at this, unless you believe at then
reincarnation.
which is a thing.
Yeah.
But like we get this one shot at this life,
Yeah.
and I would rather just do the best that I can to like provide positivity, love in this really difficult world. Because it is a difficult world.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can understand why people will want to self-medicate and do that stuff, but it's like you don't have to do that. You can find a better way.
Yeah, there are good outlets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's people willing to help you get there. And I had so many people.
Yeah, because for the longest time, I didn't think I had people. Like, everyone I surrounded myself with was drinking or using or whatever.
Yeah.
So it was like, this is what you do.
Yeah.
And then you're like, once you're away from that, you're like, oh, there's like this whole other like community of people that I thought were weirdos or didn't really exist, that are actually like functioning members of society and doing like progressively trying to be a better person.
The two things,
and not just kind of coasting.
Yeah, the two things that I was worried about before stopping drinking was, am I going to be boring? And what are other people going to think?
Yeah.
And once I got those two things answered and out of the way, it's gravy. Like it's just like, okay, this is what I want to do and this is what I want to be. So
some people actually have that don't know me very well, that just know me from like either doing stand up or mainly people from doing stand up. They think that I'm boring, which is funny to me, which is hilarious because like if you would have met me, you know, a while back, yeah, sure, I was like sometimes the life of the party because I was, you know, up and doing whatever.
Yeah.
But it's just like I'm not that. I'm a totally different person, but I'm still like rebuilding who I was because I was damaging my life for so long. I'm like still building back.
Yeah.
And evolving and trying to. I kind of know the person I want to be, but I'm still developing that person.
Yeah.
But yeah, like you were talking about your 20s. Like my whole 20s was just a shit show. Yeah. And then, well, not my whole 20s. Then 27 was when I decided to get clean, and I was like, okay. Then it's just kind of been an adjustment period ever since.
Well, and to some people, what I do, my life is boring to them, which I mean, cool if that's, I mean,
yeah.
But to me, it's like this is a functional life, and like the emotional immaturity that was paired with me drinking and, you know, going out and having a blast and maybe being the life of the party, but also saying something that I regretted, feeling like crap the next day, but that extending into my anxiety for days after, like it's just not worth it. And
do you think some people are, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No,
sorry.
it's all right.
Do you think some people are intimidated by people that have kind of figured it out a little bit more?
So I've actually been feeling it a little bit lately where like I've been so blessed in my life with really good friends that are not like that.
Yeah.
But like there are those like friends that are your acquaintance friends maybe
more
that like I've seen there is like a coldness to if I talk about it, or like where I'm like, oh, they either want what I have or like they're just like, okay, this is like weird too much, like that sort of thing. And I never want to come off like, obviously I'm on this podcast and I'm talking about all this stuff, but like I don't ever want to go around and be the guy that like, oh, Adam's sober and like he'll talk about his journey. Like, yeah, I'll talk about it, but like it's not for everybody. Like not everyone needs to be sober.
No.
Like people are not that we're crazy, but like there are sane people that can go and have a drink and be fine and go home and not have anxiety and live a great life.
Yeah.
That's not me.
Yeah.
It's not me. I can't function with it. So,
yeah.
But yeah, so there is a little bit of that. And
yeah, because I feel it too. It's not necessarily my close friends, because I have a lot of close friends. Most of the close friends that I have now don't drink either. So
yeah, but again, that's like, I feel like that's a person that may feel that way, have other unresolved issues that they've got to work on. Like,
there's a lot of empathy. You have to have a lot of empathy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I can understand it, but it's also like start the journey somewhere, you know.
Yeah, and yeah, there's no like I don't have a lot of bad blood with people or anything like that. Like I've kind of gotten over that, like because I've worked steps, I've done the program, and I'm still in the program. I'm gonna do the steps again because you don't just do them once.
The steps blow my mind.
Yeah,
Like the constant, like my cousin, I mean, she's always doing her steps, and I'm just like, wow, to be able to, like, the people that are in AA are the strongest people I know. Cause, like, what, yeah, just doing all the steps. I don't even know all the steps.
but yeah, my biggest thing with with recovery is the community. If you're just going to meetings and you're not um, really hanging out with anybody, not really talking to anyone, and you might share every once in a while or whatever, but you just kind of go and then you treat it like church, kind of like some people treat church. They
Yeah.
just go to church on Sunday. They don't really talk to anybody. They just leave. You know, some people are more involved in church, obviously, but if you're not really like in the fold of things, you're going to eventually just be like, oh, this doesn't work, or you'll eventually kind of be like, oh, I was going to 2 meetings a week. I'm just going to go to one. And then that one's like once every couple of weeks, and then you just kind of stop. And I've seen it happen so many different times. And because the meetings are only part of it, like the steps are obviously the reason of the program, and also just the fellowship. You'll hear the word fellowship a lot, and having that fellowship, like I have some of the best friends that I've ever had because of recovery.
Well, and that's what I heard at that meeting over and over is like, if you're going to do this, you have to give yourself over fully to this to have it work. Like, if you don't, like, it's not going to work for you.
No.
And then on the fellowship front, like my cousin who is in AA, she's in the young people's group too.
Yeah.
And she started the one in Iowa City. Like, so like she's found some incredible people across the nation because of this and her leadership in this group. And I mean, if you would have asked her 10 years ago if you would be leading a group like this, she'd be like, absolutely not.
Same.
Yeah. So the benefits are there, the help is there, the people are incredible, the coffee is strong.
Coffee's always strong.
Yeah.
If it's not, you might want to go to a different
Yeah.
meeting.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had my buddy make the coffee the other day, and he never makes it. And he's like, what do I do? I just put more than one scoop in it. Basically, I was like, you'll figure it out. Just don't make it not strong enough.
Yeah. There's going to be riots.
You'll hear about it. Well, it used to be like, coffee and then cigarettes.
Yeah.
They used to just chain smoke in the...
I used to sing in a choir in Iowa City that met at the same time that the area AA group did, and we would be on a water break, and we would see all of these people walk past, and the first time I experienced it, I said, is the meeting done? And they're like, oh, no, they're all going to smoke. I was like, that's like all of the people.
Yeah, some of the meetings have a smoke break, yeah. Because that's one thing, like a lot of, especially drinkers, especially if your main thing was drinking, not always, but a lot of nicotine addiction there, and that's when you're coming off of everything else that you're trying to come off of. That's like the hardest thing to do at the same time, because you're just gonna feel like garbage.
Yeah,
and it's just a scary thing to get off. Nicotine's so bad. I am so glad it was never really my thing.
Yeah. I've always been
mainly it made me feel like shit most of the time.
Yeah,
and I'm glad.
My friend had me do chew once, and I threw up.
Oh yeah, first time I chewed, I threw up too.
He was like, "Are you okay? Your face is green right now." I'm like, "No, I'm gonna puke my guts out."
Yeah.
Oof.
Yeah, I was riding around with a friend, and he drove like a maniac anyway. So it was, and I chewed for the first time, so I was bound to throw up.
Gross.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't get it. And now there's like the nicotine pouches and stuff like that, and vaping. We don't even know.
Yeah, I'm glad I avoided the vape train because I'm just worried about like the bubble lung or popcorn lung or
Yeah.
whatever, and like we don't know
It's
what
so
this
new.
is gonna do, and but make wise choices. I don't know.
Yeah.
Like, I guess it might be better than nicotine. Well,
We don't know.
yeah, we don't know.
We do not know. I mean, there is nicotine in it.
Yeah.
That's the thing. But is it better than smoking? I think so. But is it still bad? That's the thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a damn mystery. We're going to find out in probably the next 5 to 10 years how bad it really is.
Yeah.
Because there's so many people that, oh man, they're just always constantly reaching for their vape.
Everywhere you go. Well, and at
Yeah.
first, like when they started coming out in those boxes, like
Yeah, with
I
the
had no
big
clue. Yeah, I was
clouds.
like, what the hell are these
What's
things?
going on?
And now I see them everywhere, so I'm like, okay.
Yeah, and now they're more like you can easily put them in your pocket. It's not a huge like. Some people still have those, but which is insane to me. But yeah.
What are you looking forward to in 2024?
2024. I would say my career path is kind of adjusting. I'm working on building my own business right now, just doing social media marketing.
That's awesome.
Management, and a little bit of website stuff here and there. I have some background with that, so I've been helping people with rebuild their websites. I went to school for marketing. I'm a big internet nerd, so it just makes sense. Been doing that on the side, but also like been kind of working my way up with my 9 to 5. I do employee benefits, working the customer service call center side of things, which is weird doing from home now.
Yeah.
But yeah, so career growth, but also I want to take the podcast to another level. I eventually want to get a little bit better video setup where like it kind of well, I'd have to have somebody running it. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You have to have somebody, like everybody has like their guy or whatever. And it's really not hard to do though. It's just like a tablet. You just switch the cameras back and forth of who's talking.
Shane has that set up, I feel like. Maybe?
I don't know if he does or not. But yeah. We need to call out Shane. He hasn't recorded a podcast in.
He poked me on Facebook yesterday.
That's hilarious.
And I was like, what is this?
It's still a
2007?
thing.
What? So I poked him back, and then like a half an hour later he poked me, and I was like, okay, I've had enough poking right now.
Yeah.
But it was so good to be poked by him. I
Yeah.
love him, and I hope you as well. I haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah, yeah. He got a different job. He's working a lot.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, 2024, I want to focus more on some self-care stuff because I want to do more, whether it's yoga or meditating, more breathing exercises, because those definitely help me, and I've done them. I just need to be more consistent about it.
Yeah.
Keeping up with the therapy and staying in therapy, and then just also continuing to get out of my comfort zone. That's where comedy came into play.
Yeah.
And it's really helped me, and I'm doing more shows that I like hosting shows now. So I'm doing like an open mic that I'm hosting. I've had people a couple of different places reach out to me about running them, and it's just kind of been opening the door, and I have a good time with it. It gets me out of the house, gets me doing something. Yeah, there's that, and then continuing to keep up with the gym routine. I kind of switch it up, but just doing something. I would like to get into more of a daily exercise routine of some sort, whether it doesn't have to be me going hard every day, but something.
Yeah.
During the summer, I was doing a lot of walk. I would just go for, like, if I didn't do anything, I would just at least go for a walk around my neighborhood. Something.
Yeah.
One, to get out of the house. Two, just to move. moving is very important.
It is really important.
Yeah.
Yeah.
'Cause it's so easy for me, like working from home. I like everybody's like super jealous of me working from home, and I get that, and I try to be grateful that for that. But at the
But
same
yeah.
time, it's like it could get pretty lonely and
Yeah.
also just very isolating
Absolutely.
at the same
Yeah.
time.
Been there,
So
done that.
I have to watch for
Oof.
that. So I've honestly thought about doing like a finding like a co-working space I can work out of
Yeah.
occasionally to work on, whether it's just my side business or 9 to 5 or whatever. I'd have to talk to my company about security stuff because I deal with benefits. So,
Gotcha.
um,
Yeah.
but I want to at least have a place where I can go to get out of the house to work, whether if it's my side work or regular job. Um, yeah, staying busy, but also not overwhelming myself and finding a balance. I talked a lot about balance today, and I had therapy earlier today. So we talked about balance and not overextending myself and burning myself out because I do it all the time.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, I feel like I am very similar in that sense where
Yeah.
like I either want to go hard or like then you're like, I don't want to do this at all.
Yeah, I just don't want.
Yeah.
I just want to like disappear for like a week
Yeah.
and not talk to anyone.
Sometimes that's especially in like the public facing
Yeah.
stuff that I do. Like there's times when I get home and I just hit that bed and it's not even like tired. It's just like I don't want to talk to anybody. But yeah, like there is, ways of dealing with that. And yeah, usually when that happens, I'm not doing something in the self care
Yeah, exactly.
itinerary that I do.
Yeah, where you're just always working and you're not doing anything
Yeah.
else, and because it can be an escape too. Like we were talking about earlier, running from your problems.
Yeah.
And what are you running from? And yeah, it's really easy to get caught up in work, especially if you have a lot of different things going on.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what happened to me recently. I recently just had a burnout where I hit a wall, and I was just like, oh shit. I talked about that today, and luckily I had people in my life that my cousin pointed it out, and he's like, "Hey, yeah, you seem like you've been doing a lot lately, so I can understand why you kind of hit this wall."
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, it's good to have other people that. I mean, I can only have so much self-awareness. I gotta have people that are paying attention and that'll call me out on my shit too.
Yeah.
And I have friends that don't sugarcoat it either. They're just like, "Hey, you're fucking up."
Those are the best friends. The
Yeah.
ones that just tell you like it is.
Yeah. Just like this
Give me a million of those.
Yeah, exactly. Because I didn't have people like that in my life for a long time. Or if they were telling me something, it wasn't processing.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
I would make a joke out of it.
Yeah. Find the people that will tell you that you have spinach in your teeth and that you have a booger up your nose that's sticking out. Like
my mom is so
those
good
are the
at that.
people. I am always that person for anyone.
Yeah.
I don't even have to know you. I will make sure you're in check. You're looking good.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah, there's been times where I've gotten home and like my hair was like all messed up, and I'm just like, nobody.
Yeah, no one told you. What? Gotta find the good people.
Yeah. Well, we better get wrapped up here. I always try to wrap up, and like 20 minutes later, I actually wrap up.
Well, I asked the last question, so that was my fault. So
no, you're good. You're good. There's a couple things I need to chop out of there anyway. So, but yeah, it was really good having you on. It's good to be back. Because I had to take a little break there. Because I didn't have COVID, didn't have strep, didn't have the flu, but they're like, you have something. Here's some steroids. I'm like, sweet. So now I gotta go to the gym more.
There's some kind of gunk going around.
Just,
like it is, yeah.
Yeah, it's just but lingering for a couple weeks, and then like Friday, I felt like complete garbage. Well, like just got a fever, and I thought I was getting better, and like as long as you're not as long as you're fever free for 24 hours and start taking these, you're good. And I've been good. It just kind of like
restarting the whole like
and it messed up my anxiety. Like I got like fever brain. My head was all, I was like, what? is going on, and I think that it was a little bit of burnout too.
Yeah.
It's just a combination of things that all happen. Everything seems to happen at once. When it
rains,
when
it pours.
when yeah, when it rains it pours and shit hits the fan.
It
and that's what
does.
happened.
Yeah, cleaning that up is not fun.
No, not at all. That's why the fan's off. Well, it's been good having you on, man. I'm glad we finally got to make it happen.
Me too.
Continue with the journey. It only gets better. I tell people that all the time. There's times where it does suck, but that's how life goes. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one of those things. It's like, but you get to experience it and you get to feel it, and then you can remember like when you are having good times. You're like, oh man, remember when I thought that I was gonna be stuck this way?
Yeah. Well, I used to hear people say, I wish I would have done this sooner. And I used to think, God, they're such an idiot. Like,
Yeah.
what? And now I say to myself all the time, I wish I would have done this sooner.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, me too.
Yeah.
It's almost like I wish I would have, because before I started drinking in high school, before I went into high school, I was like, I'm not gonna drink. I had an older brother. He didn't have a problem, but some of his friends were annoying. I was just like, I don't want to be that guy. And then, yeah, and I was like, my friends are doing it. I'm gonna do it. Seems fun.
Yeah.
I'm Catholic. I gotta drink.
Yeah. I'm good to go.
Drinking's fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. Better get wrapped up. It's getting late, and you get up early. You're an
I
early
do.
guy.
I actually am leaving tomorrow from Missouri at 4:45 a.m.
Ooh, what are you doing in Missouri?
I have
Show choir?
Yeah, 3 high schools I'm working with Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So yeah, it'll be fun.
So you just work off referrals basically now at this point?
Yeah, I mean, essentially, I judge the competitions, and I'm in front of kids there at critique judging, and then the people are like, "Oh, you know what you're talking about. Let's have you come next year." And so yeah, I work in like 15, 16 different states and different groups every year. Most of the same competitions I judge every year. It's great. I love it. It fills my cup. Makes me really tired by the end of it. I'm done with traveling, but then I'm back in the Quad Cities for spring. I miss winter. There we go.
That's awesome.
Yeah. Fuck the snow.
Oh yeah, I agree. Well, one last thing I'm gonna ask you before we close is I've been trying to like end things on a good positive note, and if there's somebody listening or watching that's struggling right now, what would you say to them? Like if they were a friend or stranger, somebody that's listening and that just they want to keep going, but they don't really know what to do. They're kind of stuck.
So I guess I have two things.
It's a loaded one. Sorry.
Yeah, it's hard because I don't know what the circumstances for everyone is, and not everyone has that one supportive person in their life. Like I said, I've been blessed with so many supportive people where I always knew where I could turn for help or just like people to listen. So like I would say, turn to your best friend, turn to the person that you trust the most, and start talking to them and having the conversation, because without talking about it, things will not get better. And then if you don't have that person, I mean, there's so many resources to reach out to. So if you're an alcoholic, like AA, like just go to a meeting. If it's, you're having self-harm thoughts, 988 is a thing now you can call. I mean, reach out.
You can text 988 too.
Yeah. Like reach out to someone, anyone. Someone is going to care and someone is going to show up for you. But most people do have that one or two people in their life that they can go to, but they might be afraid to. So just reach out.
Yeah, open up. They'll be glad to hear from you.
Yeah.
Whether it's somebody that you're really close to or somebody on the other side of that hotline.
Yeah, absolutely.
I appreciate that. That's a good way to end it. So thank you everyone for tuning in. Until next time, I'm Colin, and this has been Adam Peters, and it's been a great episode. Take care, everyone.
Peace out.